These are my favorite games of all time. In 2022, we did Sly 1, 2024, we did Sly 2. Now that Sly 3 turns 20, it's time to finish the trilogy with this amazing game and rank every single level that it has to offer.
No! I won't do it!
The best tier list I could find is one with every level from every Sly game, so sorry about that. I am saying sorry to me because these are alphabetized and I have to find each one in order that you play them in the video game. First level up, the Cooper Vault. This level takes place in what would be the future, where Sly is trying to break into his ancestors' vault where they stashed all of their life's wealth and riches, only to find that one of his dad's old enemies had actually gotten to the vault before he did and made like a big fortress around it. So this level has the whole Cooper gang, including many mystery party members that will be revealed later in the game, use all their talents and abilities to work together to break into the vault in a very fun and unique way. And the mission ends with Sly sacrificing himself to save his friend and being kind of crushed to death by this giant monster where his life flashes before his eyes. I'm not a huge fan of this kind of storytelling, you know, like here's a little glimpse of the end and then it resets you all the way back to the beginning and then you have to work your way back, but it does a good job at what it is and I think it's going to get a B tier for now. Now there's a lot of levels in this game and all these placements will be subject to change at the end of the video where we'll do our final consideration. Police HQ. So now we're flashing back to the setup of this game, and if you don't know anything about the other Sly games, this used to be a gang of 3, now it's only a gang of 2 because one of them went to go study Buddhism or something, and we're trying to find him and recruit him again. So that lands us in Italy, where we break into a police headquarters, run into an old bad guy of ours from a previous game. He tells us he has intel on our missing gang member Murray, but he won't give it to us unless we free him from prison, which we do. So we sneak around, find the key, maybe harass women a little bit, and once we let him loose, we distract the cops so he can escape, where Carmelita then chases after us, obviously seeking revenge. And this chase is pretty fun, despite being a little tutorial-esque with its platforming. And then we use Dimitri's intel to meet up with Murray where he saves the day. Quite a short level, but it's got action, it's got stealth, everything a level really needs in a game like this, so we'll put it at like a low B for right now. Not quite a C though. Octavio Snap. Pretty basic reconnaissance mission where you just take pictures of Octavio, who is the big bad of this chapter, doing bad things. Tiptoeing around him can be kind of awkward and it can lead to some pretty funny antics. Quite a basic and slow level, but serviceable and it gets the job done. Probably gonna get a C tier. Into the depths, now we're getting good. So Bentley, who is the brains of the operation, needs to hack into a computer in Octavio's HQ. And the platforming in this level is really, really fun. After that, you dodge some lasers, stealthily crawl through some vents, and then you encounter some guards who can jump over attacks now. That's a change this game made. Not sure how I feel about that, but not a big deal, plenty doable. Then you finally find the computer Bentley is supposed to hack, and you defend him while he's doing that. This one's got a nice balance of stealth and action, and you get to see how Sly and Bentley kind of work with each other while they're just a gang of 2. Pretty cool, I like it, give it an A. Canal Chase. This is our first vehicle mission of the game. So the 3 evil amigos hop in their 3 evil canoes to go kill Carmelita, the policewoman from earlier, whom Sly does not have a crush on whatsoever. He's just saving the day because he's a good guy. The controls are fine, they're a bit weird. I mean, these boats jump slightly more than normal boats. Just dodge all the random John sense and don't overheat your gun, you'll be fine. So after a short chase and lots of Call of Duty, you take them down one by one and the Latina babe is safe. Not a huge fan of vehicle missions, but this one's pretty inoffensive, but also doesn't really do anything that special. Probably gonna get a C tier. I would put it above Octavio Snap though. Turf War, this is an interesting one. So the big crime boss of Venice, Octavio, has these flying goons just ruining everything. So Sly baits these like police mercenaries with a bad Italian accent into getting in a fight with them, where Carmelita has to save the day. Her controls are very simple, her movement speed's quite fast, she can jump very, very high, she can do little kicks, but she mostly just shoots things 100,000 times with her shock pistol. Very repetitive gameplay, you're literally just shooting the same guys over and over again all across the map, but it is fun to play as someone other than Sly, Bentley, and Murray for the first time. Probably gonna get B. Tarball is a funny one. So Murray, formerly the muscle of the gang, is on this like peaceful spirit quest, but Bentley is able to persuade him into stopping crime as long as no one gets hurt, so he uses his aboriginal ball form to bounce around the map and crush these tar pumps that are polluting the water. And because I love and respect this game so much, I'll be referring to this as Murray's balls, which he uses to traverse the map at incredible speeds and altitudes and crush all these pumps to smithereens. It is pretty satisfying to land on the slopes of these rooftops and actually like get some speed going. I like Murray's balls. They're short, they're sweet, it's a pretty repetitive level, but who cares? It's a B tier. Run and Bomb. This is a fun one. So this evil mob boss likes singing and he's advertising how awesome he is. And Sly and Bentley are jealous, so they make bombs to blow up everything. And you can't just place this bomb, run away, and detonate it safely. No. Bentley puts the bomb on your back, lights the fuse, and says run. So you gotta get to your destination before it explodes. There's one little bomb with a short fuse, one bigger bomb with a longer fuse, and lots of running to do, and avoiding enemies can be kind of stressful and annoying. But Octavio's advertisement gets caught on Octavio's statue of himself, himself. So some super fun platforming later, you whack him in the face and his ad is gone. And on your way back, you get a call from Bentley, who is currently being abducted by Octavio. So you chase him around until he gets tired and he just gives you Bentley back. But actually, he very violently throws Bentley at Sly, crushing his little raccoon spine, crippling him forever. Run and bomb is pretty cool. There's running, there's bombing, and then there's more running. The unforeseen second run. I think this is probably the best B tier so far. Pretty sweet level. I know what the next level's called, I just can't freaking find it. Guard duty, goodness gracious. This level introduces another one of Sly 3's like dozens of new gameplay mechanics since the second game, where you put on a disguise, encounter a guard, and have to answer a password before he shoots you.
Oh, am I glad you're here. Mama's making spaghetti tonight and I'm starving. I'm gonna eat like 4 plates of food.
I guess that you really like her cooking.
Mamma mia, I want to be buried in her sauce. It's heaven.
Once you convince the guards that you're one of the boys, you can stand guard while Bentley breaks in and does his thing, where there is yet another new gameplay mechanic where you search through this painting until you find the password that unlocks the safe hidden behind the painting so you can retrieve the blueprints. Complete this process 3 times, get caught because you're stupid, and then lure all the guards that are chasing you directly back to your hideout, which, wait, that's a terrible idea. How are they just getting away after this? A tier, funny as hell. Operation Tar Be Gone, time to wrap up the chapter with the big climax. Octavio has a big concert in a few minutes, and as Sly, you sneak into his headquarters and gum up the works. But you encounter Octavio himself, who helps you gum up the works. Once he lets you into the room with 0 crimes, you commit some crimes and destroy the tar pump that's polluting the water. But his ass is so dumb, he has no idea. He just goes to perform his little concert, where Bentley approaches him and he's like, I'm a gooder singer than you. So naturally, Octavio invites this turtle, who he nearly killed like 90 minutes ago, to sing a duet with him during his concert. And this is the funniest shit in the entire game. It does not get better than this. Bentley singing is like this rhythm QuickTime event memory game with very few restrictions on the timings. You could basically just goof around and it'll turn out hilarious every time.
La 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 la.
And while you're distracting this enormous crowd of viewers, Sly is actually attempting murder on this innocent man. But Carmelita saves the day at the last moment.
Freeze! The lot of you are going to jail!
This recital is over.
I love this guy so much. You then enter another boat chase with twice the obstacles as last time. So after several minutes of high-speed chasing through the canals of Venice, he crash lands right where he started. How the fuck does that work? So Octavio does some more crimes and then says, I'm gonna tickle your ribs, little guy. And then he hurts Bentley, who's already in a wheelchair. I mean, come on. Then Sly says, help, I cannot defeat this old man. My big muscular friend who is currently peaceful. Will you please be unpeaceful and beat him up? To which he says, sure.
That does it! I'll floss my teeth with your spine!
Holy shit, I would piss my pants. So then the final boss fight ensues where Sly slows down Octavio with the tar and Murray just goes to town with his fists.
The Murray knows no song but the triumphant horn section of his own triumph. Quit talking, stupid kid, and die!
Octavio's like maybe my favorite character in Sly 3. I love him so much. So in the second half of the boss fight, Octavio starts singing evil lullabies, which he kind of spams all the time. So you gotta play pretty patiently if you want to get any good damage in. You gotta really wait your turn. This is a very long and diverse climax to a pretty good chapter. I think it's gonna get an A tier for me. One of the funniest instances in the game is Bentley freaking singing. That has to at least get it an A. I'm gonna be pretty conservative with what I feel deserves an S tier, but don't worry, it'll get some love later. And with that, we are done with chapter 1, moving on to chapter 2. This is going by so slowly. Oh my gosh, this video is going to be enormous. Search for the Guru, or the Juru, as I call him sometimes, because it's funny. So Murray feels bad that he beat up an old guy and wants permission from his master to rejoin the Cooper gang, only to find a bunch of evil miners have taken over the place, and apparently driven his master out. So we search around until we eventually find him in prison. Oh, that's it? That's okay. Wow. It's a fine introduction to the chapter, I guess, and you get to learn the open world map a little bit, even though it's the worst open world map in the game. But it's such a nothing mission, I can't put it higher than a C. Maybe drop it down to a D later, but this is probably the worst one so far, but it's okay. Spelunking. So the Guru would like to meet with Murray, and I guess the easiest way to make that happen would be to make Murray go in this big convoluted cave to eventually come out the other side, where the Guru is being imprisoned. I don't know. I have a pretty big problem with Sly 3 because they nerfed the shit out of Murray. He was so much stronger in Sly 2, and I get he's been on like a peace quest recently, but they definitely made an overcorrection. I mean, he is so much weaker in this game, and it really drags down all of his gameplay. But looking past that, this level's mostly fine. You beat up some guards and encounter this piston, which Murray uses his balls to depress, which is needed to override pressure to open it doesn't matter. Beat up some more guards, and another piston. 3 of them! Murray shares his abundant ball love with 3 piston cups at the same time, which can take a while. Once that's all done, you encounter the Mask of Dark Earth. Ooh. These games thematically and mechanically and narratively are usually playing it pretty straight. These games don't really dip their toes into supernatural enemies. So this sentient mask that attaches itself to a host and amplifies its physical characteristics and strength, this is kind of a cool concept for a villain, and we'll explore that more later. So Murray just picks up the boss, which you can do apparently, throws it into the wall like 6 times until its host dies, and then the Mask of Dark Earth runs away? Huh. I guess it makes sense. The guru is like a spiritual guy, so the enemy of his place is also spiritual. I don't know. So they meet up, and Murray invites the guru to join the Cooper gang. But he needs his walking stick before he can escape prison because his knees are terrible. This hole in the fence could fit like 2 of you, but whatever. Murray's first mission back does not wow me. It's not a B, it's not bad, but it's a C. The gameplay is diverse enough, I guess. I just really don't like the direction they took the character, and his gameplay definitely suffers from that. Dark Caves. Sly is sent to retrieve the guru's walking staff and moonstone. Along the way, he encounters some pretty fun but kind of awkward platforming. A couple guards and a bit of platforming later, he encounters the safe. Yeah, this little safe minigame is usually smooth sailing for me, but sometimes it just refuses to work and I'm stuck here for like 5 minutes. And inside the safe is the guru's cool rock, which is rigged to like explode or something unless you expose it to sunlight, so Sly's gotta freaking get a move on and get out of the cave as soon as possible. And after that, he goes into another cave, cracks another safe, and finds the stick. This is the part where I get stuck at the safe minigame for like 5 minutes. And surprise, they booby-trapped the stick somehow. The stick is rigged to blow if he doesn't get it exposed to sunlight. And this is like one of my least favorite parts of the game. To escape the cave, you have to walk down this really narrow path with a bunch of guards. And these dudes with their stupid whips make it so hard to get anywhere. Yeah, the guards in this game are significantly more threatening than in previous installments of the series. A bit more platforming and you finally escape the cave and you are done. This level tries to do what Into the Depths does much better. This level focuses too much on combat with enemies in very awkward areas of the map. The platforming was done well enough to earn it a C tier, probably above spelunking. Big truck, a highlight of chapter 2, one of the few. Murray finds a big ass truck and says it's mine now and drives it off into the sunset. So the plan is to stop all these miners from mining. We're gonna hijack a drill and do some mining, which will bring scorpions out of their nests so we can capture them and unleash them on the miners to stop them from mining. Got it. And apparently the only means to capture these scorpions is with this truck because they are the size of completely normal scorpions. So you drive around this stupid ass truck and flip it over on top of these red scorpions to collect them. And as you can tell from my gameplay, these controls are about as unintuitive as they look. I can get behind it for what it is, but it is kind of frustrating at times. And the worst part is that apparently the rocks are so hot they will burn your tires, so you gotta keep driving through the water to cool them down. And halfway through, Bentley stops you and says, hey, to stop these miners from mining, we gotta mine some more. So Sly does some pretty cool platforming to further hijack the drill to make it drill more. But oops, all the water is gone. How are your tires going to survive? Good question. From now on, you have to rely on crushing scorpions to cool down your tires. And it can be kind of hard and stressful to find enough scorpions to keep cooling down your tires, especially with how poorly this thing handles and turns. It can be really easy to get stuck. I do have a soft spot for this level, but I'm trying to judge it as fairly as I can. It's better than Octavio Snap, but with the controls being as weird as they are, I think it has to be below Canal Chase, which is admittedly a simpler vehicle mission, but one that was executed much better, I think. Unleash the Juru. Bentley reunites the guru with his cool stick and cool rock so he can escape prison. And it is here that we first get to see the guru's gameplay and abilities, where he can transform into rocks. Confused, the prison guard jumps into our cell where we control his mind and ram the cell door open. Yeah, this is the same guy who's teaching Murray not to hurt anybody, by the way. So you possess some more people and ram their heads into things to kill them instantly. Pretty cool. Also, I really like how the guru's like Amish or whatever, so he can't use technology, so his binocucom is just an eyeball. It's a short, sweet little mission that lets you play as a new character, which will get it some bonus points, but it is very short and there's not much going on, so probably a high C. The Claw. So Murray's got to get some oil wells pumping, and your job as Sly is to pilot this crane claw thing and just kill everybody, however you see fit. The controls for this thing are surprisingly intuitive while also being more complex than a lot of the other like vehicle mini games so far. It gets very repetitive, but I do think it's quite cool, and for a vehicle level, I think it does a lot of things right. I think I'm gonna put this above Turf War. Just looking at these two levels, I would rather replay this one. I would totally understand if you disagreed. This gameplay is very repetitive, but I would argue it is less repetitive than Carmelita Call of Duty. Also, there's a couple moments where you have to pick up Murray and take him to the next part of the level, and you can actually drop him in the water, which I discovered during my playthrough. I just found that super funny, and I wanted to share it with you. I had no idea this existed. Lemon Rage, a classic. So a raccoon, a hippo, and a turtle walk into a bar, and they politely ask these evil miners to leave, to which the miners respond,
Tough, took, wagga.
oh gosh, you're not allowed to say that, I don't think. But the miners cut them a deal. They'll say, hey, if you can chug more lemonade than us, we'll leave the bar. Enter lots of button mashing. Sly is pretty good at drinking lemonade, Murray's the freaking throat goat, and Bentley is an absolute failure.
We win.
That's cheating. Why, the turtle spilled more than he drank.
I'm actually with the miners on this one, Bentley. What was that? So a big bar brawl ensues, and there's dozens of enemies coming in and trying to beat you guys up, and you gotta work together as a gang and take them all down. Like I said, the dudes with the whips... ouch. The dudes with the whips can be really annoying, and their attacks can be very deceptively large and dangerous. But at least the kangaroos are... ouch, motherfucker. There's lots of little quirks with the environment that you could use to take out the enemies, which is pretty fun. After a couple minutes of assaulting locals as each character, you finally won the day. The bar is yours. But the Mask of Dark Girth has found another host, and it's time for another boss battle. Which means it's time to learn more about this mask and where it comes from and how it works. What the fuck? As Sly, you guide him into... ouch! Guide him into a slew of Bentley's bombs and Murray's barrels to get him into a dazed state where you can actually do some damage. At last, we have pulled together as a team and defeated the mask and he's gone again. This is just non-stop action and chaos, and I like it a lot, but I can't feel very narratively invested in anything that's happening, which definitely makes it harder to enjoy. And you can make the argument of, oh, it's a kid's game, you shouldn't be caring about that, it's all about the gameplay, and sure, but I would counter by giving this a low A tier. Definitely very good and very fun, but lacks the charm of some other levels, I think. Hungry Crocs. You feed guards to alligator. That's all. The act of picking up guards gets a lot harder when there's 7 other guards trying to beat you up. Gameplay is very repetitive and kind of awkward, but far from offensive, I guess? Still probably not any higher than Octavio Snap. Operation Moon Crash, okay. So we're trying to lure the Mask of Dark Earth for one final conflict, and we need Murray to look all sexy to attract it. But this helicopter doesn't like sexy Murray, and that's a problem. So the guru uses his peaceful meditative powers to kill guards by running them into the helicopter, blowing it up. Alright. But yeah, sure, I get it. These guys came to his home and started excavating everything and destroying stuff, so this is maybe an act of self-defense. At least once these miners are gone, he's not going to kill anybody else. Once the helicopter's out of the picture, the Murray is free to be his natural, beautiful self. And this, of course, is the moment where Carmelita feels it is most fitting to visit Australia for no reason. The Mask of Dark Earth has bound itself to a powerful flashlight guard, and he's about to kill the guru. But here comes sexy Murray to save the day, and boom! He's finally... nope, he runs away again. The mask does have good taste, though, finding its next host in the Latina Fox Lady. Latina Fox Lady has turned into Big Latina Fox Lady and is chasing Sly around.
How about putting a few of your sleep darts in Karma Larja here?
Or, sorry, Karma Larja, right. Bentley naturally decides to provide support by shooting Karma Larja with Tylenol PM so she'll go to sleep. And once all that medicine finally kicks in... Yeah, Karma Larja is not a fan of sleepy time, so she decides to become as big as a house. Yeah, as anyone would. And while you are driving for your life into the big truck, Carmelita decides to throw dynamite at you, which you have to use the claw to return back to her. Claw gameplay generally gets a thumbs up for me. Just make sure you don't miss the dynamite too many times. You might be slightly screwed. And once you get her health low enough, she... apparently after all the TNT, she just doesn't care anymore. She's just like off in the background doing whatever.
You're the climber, and I'm sure you've always wanted to get closer to her. Can't get much closer than climbing up her bootlaces.
That's not a crazy idea.
Oh yeah, it's crazy.
You got a better idea?
Yeah, but we'd need a giant fighting robot.
I love Murray. I love Murray so much. Yeah, they also changed his voice in this game.
Yeah, but we'd need a giant fighting robot.
It had like a low pitch filter in Sly 2, which I thought was fine and cool, and then they just removed the filter and now he's back to normal. I don't know. So the natural next course of action is to scale Karma Larja and unhook the mask. Also, Carmelita's mercenaries show up to help, but they're not shooting her or the mask, they're shooting you, who's trying to help. And once you are done with the barely disguised fetish level, you're able to remove the mask from Carmelita and set her free. Also, there's a voice line here that just never plays. You never get to know what it is, and I think it's so funny. And then Carmelita's goons say, "Don't worry, we'll save the day." And they shoot the mask until it explodes and kills all of them? Gosh, I mean, they were shooting me for no reason, but I didn't think they deserved that. Sorry, I know that was a lot. I'm gonna try to speed things up as we progress through the video. Really good variety of gameplay in this operation. I'm super on board with that. It is strange and not so subtly fetishistic, but if I'm looking at just its gameplay, I think it's quite good. Probably not as good as Lemon Rage or Tarbigon, but still an easy A. Okay, that I think is the weakest chapter in the game, and it still had some pretty strong moments, so not bad. Moving on to chapter 3. Hidden Flight Roster. Okay, this is probably the best starter mission of a chapter so far. The gang is convinced they'll need an RC specialist to help them break into the Cooper Vault at the end of the game. They meet one in Holland, but she'll only agree to work with them if they win this dogfight competition, so it's time to fly planes and shoot people. So Sly goes undercover yet again with a disguise you cannot re-equip whenever you want, actually. This is just a one-time thing for the mission. You find and talk to Dimitri, who somehow found a job here after escaping prison like, I don't know, a week ago, and you use more of this like speech bubble puzzle stuff to convince him to reveal the location of the flight roster so you can know who you're up against and how to stage your plan for the upcoming dogfight. Then we meet the Black Baron, who's the big bad of chapter 3. He's kind of this like ruthless dogfighting crime boss who has all the other dogfighters for this competition kind of under his heel. Dimitri tells us that the Black Baron has this big air hangar connected to his mansion, which we need to break into to find the flight roster. After some fun platforming with Sly, we switch places with Bentley, where he takes over and does more of these like painting puzzle things to crack the code of the safe and find the flight roster. Super fun level. The beginning has a lot of admittedly pretty necessary exposition, so it starts off really slow and the speech bubble puzzle stuff doesn't really appeal to me that much, but it gets pretty good later, and I think this is the best starter level for a chapter so far. Just barely edging out Police HQ, I think, at a solid B tier. They're pretty similar levels, I guess. Frame Team Belgium. Now that you know the flight roster, the plan is to steal from one team, frame the other, and they'll just fight each other, and that'll take care of itself. The mission starts with Murray going undercover to try to make this guy laugh, so during his intense laughter, Bentley can snag a magnetic handkerchief from his back pocket? I don't know, and I don't care, because we get this awesome scene.
Ever see someone put their fist down their throat? Ta-da! Hey, fish! Duck! I need help! Hey!
Once you get the handkerchief, it is now the Guru's job to, mind control more guards and ram their delicate little skulls into the back of a truck. No, get back here! Are you kidding me? Oh gosh, I did not see him coming. Okay. Oh, what? So once you ram one guard into the back of the truck, it'll deplete some of its health, but it'll start deploying these bear traps, which you have to jump over for the subsequent guards. After 4 of those, it's time for Sly to jump into the truck, which is made pretty trivial by this feral pounce ability, which I'm not supposed to have at this point in the game, so don't tell anybody. Also, check out this awesome handkerchief exchange where Bentley throws it to Sly despite them being like 1.5 feet apart. Then it's time to crack another safe, which is a fine mini game when it's not breaking because it takes like 3 seconds. That's pretty much it. You put the handkerchief in there and then the enemy teams go at each other. I like this level a lot. We get to see Murray's humor, we get to see the Guru's continuing moral ambiguity, and Sly even gets in on the action. Very diverse and fun gameplay. Probably gonna go right behind Run and Bomb, I think. This one's pretty fun. Frame Team Iceland. So this is the counterpart to the last mission. It's more of the same blame game. Wow. Eminem? Sly and Murray hop in this boat and he just, look at him go. Yeah, you can't hold the button for this, so it's very spammy and kind of painful and repetitive, but it's fine. Controls well. After some very treacherous sewer traversal, we get Sly to his destination, where he breaks into the enemy team's like dorm room, I guess, where they have lots of like crude booby traps set up for any like potential thieves or burglars. So you sneak around, you avoid the traps, you steal this Viking helmet, do some actually surprisingly fun platforming to bring it back to Murray, where you guys make your grand exit with lots more rowing. Then Murray takes the helmet, defaces the enemy's hangar, and leaves the helmet at the scene of the crime. Also, you can use Murray's balls to travel faster than his running speed, which is pretty cool in my opinion. There's no speech bubble dialogue stuff in this mission, so it is a little bit faster, but there is so much very, very slow rowing of boats. If you could hold the rowing button to make things a little easier, or maybe if the boat just went faster, this would be better. As is, I'm probably going to put it one spot behind Frame Team Belgium. Still a very cool level though, I like it a lot. Cooper Hangar Defense. This will be a nightmare for any of you guys who struggle with multitasking. One of the rival air teams of the competition seeks to deface the Cooper Hangar tonight, so Bentley and Murray team up to defend it. Oh, also, yeah, Mugshot is here too. I like Mugshot a lot. Anyway, so Mugshot, who is very strong and good at beating people up, decides the best way to beat up the Cooper gang is to hold the door open so these little guys can go beat them up. And nothing is strong enough to hurt this Mugshot guy. He is a wall of meat. Oh, actually, I forgot. There's a button that makes a big engine ram into things really fast. So That's nice. Defend the hangar by defeating the guards, and every now and then you get another chance to ram the engine into his sternum, and you will eventually knock him out.
Oh, right in the solar plexus.
And then the second half of the level sees Murray just kind of guard the plane while Bentley plays Five Nights at Freddy's. There's guards trying to make their way to your hangar using the sewers, and as Bentley, you control these 8 traps across these 2 different monitors to keep the guards away. It starts off pretty slow, and the frequency of the enemies starts ramping up pretty gradually, but it eventually gets quite crazy, and if you're bad at multitasking, this will definitely stress you out. And then Bentley has a Discord call with his girlfriend, and all loose ends are tied up. I like this level. It's got a pretty nice diversity.
What'd you say? It's not over?
Bentley's RC specialist girlfriend Penelope gets her RC chopper ready to protect the hangar from even more oppressors. The controls for this thing are kind of ass. You drop down this little hook, and then you turn really sharply to yank them up into the air, and then they'll fall to their death. The bigger guards take extra yanking, and there's tanks? If your timing is not perfect dropping the hook down on the enemies, this can get really ugly really fast. I do not think the gameplay was handled very well. But besides the awkward vehicle gameplay, there's a nice amount of gameplay diversity in here that makes it more fun than a lot of others. I'll be sticking it in the B tier above the Claw, but below the 2 frame levels. The Aces semifinals. So this is the part where you actually get to dogfight. What you see is what you get pretty much. You fly around, shoot other planes. You can pick up ammo underneath bridges if you run out. You can do some kind of barrel roll maneuvers, which is cool, but it feels kind of clunky and slow and unresponsive. Turning with the plane in general is pretty slow, but otherwise it controls very predictably and smoothly, which is a nice breath of fresh air from some of the mini games in here. If you don't like the way the plane controls, or you don't like dogfighting, you probably won't enjoy this too much, but I found it pretty fun, and it's not too long, it doesn't overstay its welcome. I do enjoy this more than the Claw, but not a whole lot more. And I know our B and C tiers are pretty monstrous right now, but this should just go to show how similar in quality a lot of these levels are, at least in my opinion. Giant Wolf Massacre. So Bentley says, I'm gonna shoot this wolf because I'm bored, and Sly says, that sounds really dangerous, don't do that. But Bentley says, it's okay, Sly. Okay. I guess you're right. The problem is, for the sleep darts to do their thing, you have to be so incredibly close to this wolf. The shots that you're seeing right now were too far away to count. Ultimately, the strategy I end up relying on to complete this level most of the time is retreating to some high ground and kind of cheesing 4 shots out of him, where once asleep, the guru will possess the wolf and kill a whole bunch of people. Now, I'm not keeping score, but I don't think he's supposed to do that. It's kind of fun to go on a rampage, but man, if you bonk your head into any surface as the wolf, you will enter this like really long animation where you like kind of shake it off a little bit, and it kind of like resets your direction wherever you were going before. It is so clunky and obnoxious sometimes. Controlling a big wolf and killing a bunch of guards is kind of fun, but almost nothing else about this level makes any kind of sense. It's up there with Big Truck for me. I like it and I have fun with it, but it pisses me off a little bit too, so probably gonna go 1 below the Big Truck. Windmill Firewall. This level serves as a reinvention of the Bentley hacking segments from previous games, and I do think the gameplay has been greatly improved upon with some more unique puzzles thrown in the mix there. It's not quite as dull or bland, but yeah, you play this little game where you shoot the red evil guys and connect the dots and you're good to go. You do this 4 times across 4 different terminals. There's a boss fight. I'm generally not a fan of, hey, time to dodge 60,000 projectiles kind of gameplay. I'm looking at you. But I think these Bentley hacking missions present it in a pretty fun way. Also, watch this pro gamer move. I'm just gonna zip past all these guys. Not gonna know what hit them.
Yes!
So once you're done hacking all the terminals, you'll make the windmill go cry, and it smashes into the dam and floods the entire town and kills many innocent people. Beauty and the Beast. So this mugshot guy is a problem and we need Carmelita to arrest him. But since our last battle, he's on a tight leash with the boss, so he's not allowed to leave. But with the power of your mom jokes, Bentley convinces him to come outside.
Your mother was a broken down tub of junk with more gentleman callers than the operator.
Nobody talks that way about my mother. Nobody!
One of the best lines in any video game I've ever played. We then take over as Carmelita and partake in one of the most stationary boss fights in the entire game. I mean, you don't have to play this way, but you can. Very quick mission, not a whole lot to it, but it's funny and you get to play as Carmelita, which is always cool. Probably gonna get a B tier. Probably better than Turf War, and Bentley's honestly carrying there with his fire jokes. It is time for Operation Turbo Dominant Eagle. Sly has to give candy to all the blimps that have been good this year, and each blimp is equipped with a trampoline trampoline that will launch you to the next blimp, unless it doesn't feel like it. So there's a lot of patience involved just waiting for the blimps to get close enough for the trampoline to actually get you there. Kind of annoying, but it's fine. After 4 of those, we move on to Murray, who needs to destroy these supports for a windmill because he hates wind power. He's more like a solar guy. So yoink the 3 supports, dodge the falling planes, and down it goes. Now it is dogfighting time part 2. You don't actually need to do much dogfighting here. You literally just find the Black Baron's plane. It's like flashing, so you can't miss it, and shoot him in the butt 1,000 times, and you're good. Like I said, I like the flying missions. It controls pretty nice. One of the best vehicles in the game, I think. What the fuck? Ouch. If you get the Baron low enough, he'll call in his blimps to save him, which Bentley promptly destroys with his spinning windmill of doom. So instead, he gets his pet plane to save him, which is where Sly meets him for the boss fight. And this is probably the best boss fight in the game up to this point. There's not too much going on, but the attacks you do have to deal with are fun to work around. And the boss fight even gives you a bunch of guards to beat up for extra health if you need it. So you unmask the villain only to find that it's Bentley's Discord girlfriend, which makes very little sense, but that's okay. So let's break this down. You got paragliding, rowing boats, shooting the Black Baron, punching the Black Baron. Not bad, but not amazing. Because of the variety, it'll probably be higher than the Aces semifinals, but I can't put it much higher than that. The pre-boss gameplay is mostly just filler. I feel like they could have done more with that, but there's nothing wrong with it, so still a solid B. Okay, done with Chapter 3, moving on to Chapter 4. By the way, I'm going to tally up the scores from all these chapters to see which chapter had the highest scoring levels, and we'll decide the winner at the end. King of Fire. I love this level. Now that we have an RC specialist, we're probably going to need a demolitions expert with more expertise than Bentley. So Bentley's on like Craigslist or something looking for a demolitions expert, where he finds the Panda King, who, you know, he killed Sly's dad, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. It'll be fine. He makes stuff blow up, dude. We need him. So the Panda King is a former villain from Sly 1 who's now meditating peacefully at the top of this tower where the gang needs to go up and meet him. And this mission's actually really, really good. Each gang member has to use their own abilities to make their way up to the Panda King in a very unique way. I just love levels where we get to see all the gang members working together to pull off something huge. They all get a little bit of love. So Murray uses his balls to get up there. Also, look at this. And after that, we use Penelope for the first time, or I guess she uses her RC car, to split open all these bamboo shoots so Sly has more points to platform across to get to the top. From there, him and Murray work together to commit vandalism.
I just need to light them up with my darts.
Whoa, 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 the guru's jerking his shit. And once these firework pinwheel things have been thoroughly vandalized, Bentley can shoot each one with a dart and get them to spin around. So now it's the guru's turn to possess more people against their will, and there's just fireworks on the roof just ready to go, and they're calibrated to go in just the right angle to make that happen? Sure. Upon meeting the Panda King, they quickly find out that he is too deeply entranced in a state of meditation, so the Guru bridges the Panda King's mind with Sly's so he can try to talk to him. Where we then see that the Panda King has been reliving the day that Sly Cooper met and defeated him to avenge his father. And the back and forth between Sly and Panda King is actually really cool to see, because at first Panda King is stuck in the same dialogue that he used back in the first game, so Sly beats him up a little bit and frees him from this memory loop. Sly tries to be nice, but the Panda King is too stubborn. But I'm stuck, no. And then they have a really cool heart-to-heart of like, hey, I hate what you did, and I've hated you for a long time, but that was a long time ago, so let's try to meet each other as we are today. This level's getting an S for sure. It has everything I'm looking for in a level. Games like this that are largely marketed towards children kind of struggle to find their footing when it comes to like emotional significance, but this level is super strong in that regard with everything going on between Sly and the Panda King. Also, seeing the gang use their abilities to work together is super, super fun. I love it. Get a job. So we learned that the Panda King's daughter, Jing King, is being forced to marry this General Sao guy who's like an evil dictator, who will obviously be the villain for this chapter. Bentley goes to him like, yo, you want pictures for your wedding? That's the thing people do, right? So he's like, yeah, sure, who you got?
Well, let me make a call. Hey Sly, you want to be a photographer?
This is a fun take on the reconnaissance mission where it actually turns taking pictures into like a fun little challenge you gotta overcome. And for the last picture, there's this third goofy guy. You either lead him away and kill him or just take a picture before he's able to come back and bomb the photo. And then you take some pictures of General Sao. They can be as good or bad as you want, doesn't matter, and then you get the job. I didn't think it would really be possible to make a somewhat fun challenge out of just taking pictures, but this level actually pulls it off and makes it a little interesting. It's basically Octavio Snap if it was good. I don't know if it deserves a B tier because there's really not much to it, but what is there is done really well, so I'm gonna put it above Hungry Crocs. It's in the bottom 5 levels, and I was praising it so much. I mean, you get it, though. A tearful reunion. So in previous games, Murray was less the muscle and more the getaway driver, and the team van was tragically lost after a job went south in Canada last game. And this mission starts in China, by the way, with Murray finding the team van frozen in a block of ice, which is highly probable given ocean currents, apparently, which I'm not smart enough to retort, so sure. So Penelope offers to use her chopper to drag it to him so he can free it from its icy captivity. Bob and weave through some stormtrooper aim and you're good to go. And Murray, being the absolute unit that he is, punches probably hundreds of pounds of ice with his bare hands to break it out of prison. But apparently he has to stop punching because it's too dangerous.
Forget the van, you'll never make it.
But no! No! Either help me or get out of my way. I'm bringing her home.
I love this guy so much. So Penelope agrees to escort him as long as her RC chopper still has some fuel left. And it can be really hard to see the guards who are attacking Murray, and there's a lot of Chinese architecture that can serve as cover for the guards, so you won't always be able to grab them with your hook depending on where they are. This RC chopper stuff really isn't for me, but it's not bad either, it's fine. But these spikes end up blocking Murray, and Penelope runs out of gas for her chopper, but with Murray's beautiful words of resolve and commitment to his van, it inspires the Panda King to aid him in his mission. So for the end, you play as the Panda King and you defend the Murray with these like explosive bullets or whatever, which would be fine if you couldn't also kill Murray with these bullets. So if you hit a guard once and they get knocked into Murray, you may have to kill Murray to also kill that guard, or just let the guard hit him. Like, dude, this is probably mechanically my least favorite level in the game. Controlling this turret with the analog stick never feels good, and it is always super stressful. This level is mostly gimmicky vehicles with a little bit of Murray beating people up, and it is handled quite poorly. This might be our first D tier. What is this level doing here? I swear I ranked this one. It's pretty much just hacking, but it's handled a lot better than the last games, so I like it quite a lot. Yeah, this is a high C tier for sure. Grapple cam break-in. This one's pretty fun. Sly and Bentley work together to pickpocket a couple keys, so you can break into this facility so Bentley can work his magic. And when Sly gives Bentley his key, it turns Bentley black. Cool facts. Once Bentley breaks in, we have this new gadget of Bentley's to try called the Grapple Cam. Pretty self-explanatory. It's a surveillance camera with a grappling hook and the ability to harass guards and lure them places.
Hey, buddy! Come over to this position.
Use that to lure a guard onto a pressure plate and sleep him so he stays there. Grapple around some more, harass some more guards, rinse and repeat for the second pressure plate. Once you get up there, you destroy some priceless china because you're bored and you hack into a terminal. I don't know why, but this black hole kind of threat that some of these hacking missions have, it's kind of refreshing and I like it. And you get to put balls places, which is always fun. And Bentley ends the mission by saying GG.
I'm a capital GG.
Grapple cam break-in is a good bit of fun. It's good and diverse enough to get a B tier, but it's not one of the best, I don't think. It's probably going to go in between the Aces Semi-Finals and Operation Turbo whatever. Laptop retrieval. Okay, it does not sound like much, but this is one of the best levels in the game. So General Tsao is not your average bad guy. He's actually quite competent. He finds your secret hideout, he breaks in, he steals your laptop with all your plans, and now we gotta go get it back. So Bentley just breaks into his house when he's not home and does some more hacking, which is where he encounters General Tsao's defense avatar. As far as hacking minigame bosses go, this is probably as good as it gets. It's quite fun, I would say. Sly 2 is my favorite game of all time, but the hacking in this game is significantly better, I have to say. Once he's into the terminal, he finds General Tsao's diary, which has clues and instructions on how to find his secret lair or whatever. So Sly and the Guru work together to follow these clues, one of which includes going to Taco Bell. The next clue depicts them walking across the heavens, which Guru's like, oh dude, I do that every day, I got this. So he uses the Force to bring you objects to platform across to get to the next mountain over there. And this is super cool. Some of the objects he kind of floats up to you are kind of hard to platform across, but still really fun. Sly crawls through a little hole in the mountain and comes out on the other side where there's this ancient spiritual battleground or whatever. And big spoiler alert, but this is probably the most fun level in the entire game, and definitely the best boss fight in the entire game. Jumping once will cause you to glide in a straight line across the arena. Jumping twice will switch directions wherever you want. Very, very simple controls, but it makes for a super fun boss fight. And General Tsao does not have very many attacks, but the order in which he does them seems to be kind of random, and it actually is quite challenging to try to use your abilities to counteract his in the best way possible. It requires a shocking amount of patience and spacing and timing. It is a very, very rewarding boss fight. I don't think there's any level in any Sly game that gives you this level of positional freedom, you know? So then begins phase 2 of the boss fight. I'm not a huge fan of when the boss is like, oh, you've beaten me and depleted my health, so it's time for my next health bar, you know? But if the boss fight continues to be really good and fun like this, I'm cool with it. Before they resume fighting, there's a little back and forth where we basically learn that General Tsao is a misogynistic asshole with basically no moral compass whatsoever. Sometimes these villains villains are misunderstood, and sometimes they're spiritual masks, but it's kind of refreshing to just have a guy you want to beat up so bad, and this boss fight totally lets you do that. It can feel a little bit repetitive, but at the halfway point, he starts summoning a lot of, like, evil spells and stuff, and he kind of spams them, and they're super annoying to deal with. Once you finally defeat General Sao, he forfeits the laptop by throwing it into the river. Thanks, dick. General Sao's like, we'll meet again, Sly Cooper. Sly Cooper's like, no, I'm gonna kill you now, actually. But then General Sao has a big stinky farts and escapes. This is how you make a freaking boss fight. It is cool as shit. I love it. Best level so far. Maybe the best level in the whole game. I don't know. We'll see. Vampiric Demise. This level depicts Sly and the Panda King attempting to work together for the first time. And this level starts with a really cool back and forth between the Panda King and his, like, innermost self who still hasn't let go of the past. And this is probably the best use of the speech bubble puzzle thing so far because it leads to some really, really cool interactions. It's actually really satisfying to see the humble Panda King use the angry Panda King's logic against him to dismantle his argument and convince him to join the Cooper gang. Anyway, super cool start to a super goofy level. There's a few safes around the map which Sly has to break into to get more fireworks for the Panda King to use. The Panda King's gameplay is very simple. You load fireworks into his little firework launcher, sweep across whatever targets you'd like to destroy, and let him fly. The Panda King also comes equipped with a single flame fu attack. This was his whole means of attacking in the first game, and you just get one karate chop, which is actually really strong and has decent range, but it's very slow and committal. I would have loved to see the gang members each fleshed out with their own full movesets and attacks and everything, but what we get with the Panda King isn't unsatisfactory. For this mission only, there are these vampire grasshoppers that also explode, so you can't attack them up front, you gotta use your fireworks from a distance. The Panda King uses his explosive ordnance to defend Sly Cooper while he gets more fireworks to use his explosive ordnance to defend Sly Cooper some more. Pretty straightforward, but still very effective, tower defense kind of gameplay. Once Sly cracks open the last safe, you guys part ways.
Put him in the crypt and kaboom! No more hopping vampires.
Yes, this ordinance will suffice.
They're gonna be fangs everywhere! Right. I'll just head back to the safe house.
Yes, do that.
And then you take all the fireworks to go blow up the crypt where the vampires are coming from. This level does take a bit of a nosedive towards the end, where some platforming is necessary as the Panda King, which is very awkward, and then the actual process of locking on to the crypt and blowing it up is very difficult. I'm gonna be nice to this video game because it was made in like a year, and they probably didn't have time to fully flesh out all the characters, but the Panda King definitely suffers from this more than most, I think, but I respect what they were going for, and it's definitely very unique and refreshing. Any level where you play as a new character is gonna get some bonus points, probably gonna go between the frame levels and the Cooper Hanger defense from last chapter. Very solid B tier, but could have been so much more. Down the line, Penelope and Murray work together to find this cool box, which is actually not full of cool, it's full of farts. So Murray passes out and gets abducted. And their goal is to blow up Murray by lighting a very, very long fuse, which is part of their tradition. Maybe a short fuse would be dishonorable or something, but the fuse is like 30 miles long, and Penelope saves the day with her RC car. And I guess he was right about displeasing his ancestors, because there's freaking like dragon spirits protecting this long-ass fuse. And you can use the guns to destroy a lot of things along your path, but the gun overheats really easily, and the car flips over really easily. What the hell? I went so fast. I just touched him. He didn't even hit me. It's a pretty serviceable little vehicle mission with some decent action. The controls I really wish were better because use the RC car kind of a lot. But for me, this will get a high C tier, probably right behind Windmill Firewall. Not too bad. A battery of peril. So the team van we just rescued runs on batteries, and Bentley finds a cool battery, but it's empty. And Bentley's genius plan to charge it in this neck of the woods would be to strap it to Sly's back and let him get shot by Carmelita 65 times. But the plan backfires and Sly gets electrocuted to death. Then you just bring the battery back to the safe house to charge the van while everyone's chasing you. Probably the most nothing level in the entire chapter. Definitely the least interesting mission that features Carmelita, but there's nothing wrong with it, so I'll do high C for right now. Operation Wedding Crasher. Starting with some RC business, this is actually some stealthy RC car gameplay, where you work your way through these blue security beams, and once you're done with all that, you're like, wow, that was really boring. And then you blow up everything, which is really fun, but you are on a timer, which admittedly is very lenient, but it could definitely still cause some stress. And then Murray and Penelope do another freaking double button bullshit.
1, 2, 3.
Dragons? I got 'em.
Yeah, apparently that was too early. So that opens a little trapdoor with some treasure inside. Penelope jumps right in, and Murray crushes her with his big fat belly. Meanwhile, the Panda King and the Guru are digging tunnels using fireworks to try to rescue Jing King, who's being held captive in General Tso's house. And Sly's job is to stop these vases from falling over amidst all the explosions going on underground, which is an ancient Chinese security measure. This can be a little bit frustrating, but if you just kind of stand on this platform in the center, as long as your reaction times aren't awful, you do have time to make it to every possible vase before it falls. The next phase of the operation involves trying to lure Carmelita to General Tso's house to bait her into posing as the Panda King's daughter, because Carmelita is led to believe that Sly is going to pose as General Tso and steal the bride. This is all a clever ploy by the Cooper gang to get Carmelita to arrest General Tso for them. She takes the bait and disguises herself as Jing King. Kind of complicated, I know. Oh yeah, remember when Penelope was crushed to death by Murray's big fat belly? Yeah, this is the results of that. General Tso was understandably angry that his ancient family temple is currently taking a bath, so he summons the ancient family dragon to beat up the Cooper gang. And all the other gang members are busy or something, so it's Sly's job to take down the dragon by himself. Ride a firework up to the dragon, jump over his fireballs, get up to his face, dodge his weird tongue. Surprisingly mellow boss fight for being an entire dragon. Once we defeat the dragon, General Tso's like, yeah, I don't even need the dragon, I'll just get married to this hot babe. See you losers later. Which is, of course, when Carmelita arrests him and takes him to prison. So, probably the weakest operation so far, but I mean, far from bad. It's just harder for me to feel invested in the events of the operation when we already got such a cool climax with the laptop retrieval mission. I think if the boss fight and climax of this level was somehow worked into the wedding plot, I think that would have been the perfect finale, but the finale is kind of awkwardly split across these two levels, which is why I'm going to put this right behind the last operation. Could have been handled much better, I think, but far from bad. Okay, chapter 4 is done. We got 2 more. The Talk of Pirates. This is a pretty good one. You remember when Dimitri got us that fly roster back in Holland? Well, he's now calling in his favor. Dimitri's grandpa was a big-time scuba diver, treasure hunter guy who had his gear stolen by this evil pirate dude. So our plan is to kindly ask the evil pirate dude many years later, now that he's all old and crotchety, like, hey, can we have that back? Of course, he tells us to piss off and that he never talks of treasure with anyone except his old friend Tim, and yes, that is his real name. So we find and steal various bits of pirate apparel from random guards around the map and use clever means to dispose of them. To get the pirate hat to complete our disguise, we must steal it from a dog who's standing watch at the top of a tower. What? That's the guy. That's the guy who's supposed to be at the top of the tower. He just fell 90 feet and broke his neck. And just looked at me, but didn't notice me, okay? Well, thanks for the diamond, idiot. Well, is he gonna be duplicated? Is he still up here? That is him, and he's supposed to be at the top of this tower, so... There he goes, dude. After that bit of jank, it's time to chase him down and steal his hat, which is apparently an Apple Smart hat that tells the dog when we're close so we can know to speed up. Also, apparently this dog is an Apple Smart dog that comes equipped with black magic that teleports you away from him if you get too close. He'll try to crush you with boats and anchors along the way to get you off his trail, which will definitely keep you on your toes. And the chase ends with you cornering him, and it's maybe the funniest thing in the game.
Avast there! You've got me with me back to the sea. I yield!
I just wanted your hat.
Me hat? That's what this be about? Take the modicum of cloth and away with you.
And then he just runs away. So once you have your Tim disguise, you go back to the dude like 10 minutes later and ask him the same question about the treasure. But he doesn't tell you right away. He needs to first know that you can beat him in a game of pirate insults. And this is such a fun way to do the speech puzzle thing. The whole point is to just call each other names without using words that have already been used in previous insults. And it goes on long enough to be shockingly difficult, actually. Once you beat him, he admits that he no longer has the scuba gear and it was taken by another evil pirate named Le Fouille. This is such a fun way to kick off a chapter. It's got cool characters, cool platforming, cool puzzles, it's got memes. Definitely the best A tier so far, perhaps another S tier. We'll see. If we go through the rest of the levels and we still only have these 2 S tiers, I may end up bumping a 3rd or 4th up here, but for now, he's sitting pretty at the top of A. Dynamic duo. Bentley and Penelope work together to make a UFO to terrorize the locals. The locals, of course, have guns and shoot it down, but the UFO has special data that needs to be collected, and this can be done by running over each fragment with a car. Okay. And I gotta say, this hub world was not designed with RC car platforming in mind, but it's still surprisingly fun. Once all the data has been collected, Bentley and Penelope make their way to Le Fouille's house to try to find the treasure map to see where he kept the loot. And the next part of the mission is Bentley beating up a room full of guards, which doesn't really happen at any point in any of these games, so it's kinda cool to see him like hold his own against multiple people with his new overpowered wheelchair. Another double button security door later, and you're in. You then find the chest believed to have the treasure map in it, and it is freaking covered with booby traps. Penelope's convinced convinced she can crack it open, so Bentley's like, okay, I'll go get your tools and leave you here in the villain's lair, all by yourself. This is the smartest guy in the game, by the way. Penelope, being an impatient little shit, doesn't want to wait for Bentley to get back and opens the chest anyway and gets blinded forever. So now it's Bentley's job to use the grapple cam to make bird calls to lure Penelope back to the safe house safely. And you can lure her into danger if you really want to. I did not know about that until the day I recorded this. But where are you going? Oh my gosh, that's probably my fault, sorry. This is quite a tedious process, but the grapple cam is equipped with a gun, so you can protect Penelope from guards when needed. And then you bring her back to the safe house just in time for her blindness to wear off. This mission consists of platforming across rooftops with a car, beating people up as Bentley, and then really tedious grapple cam gameplay. The diversity of which is far from bad, but also not quite my thing. Probably gonna go between Police HQ and Hidden Flight roster. A low B, but still a pretty solid level. Jolly Boat of Destruction. Murray's had enough of the slow boats of the past. It's now time to gear up for a real machine of war. Yeah, this is the boat gameplay that other stuff wishes it could be. This is faster, it controls better, it has a gun. So you and Sly work together to destroy the tail rudders on all the ships so that when you eventually try to leave the harbor in search of the buried treasure, they won't follow you and complicate the job. Each rudder is protected by a bunch of cannons, but they're very easy to dodge, and your cannon works intuitively enough to counteract that. The next part of the level has you ram into boats to destroy their armor and then shoot them once to blow them up for good. A very nice and satisfying combo for sure, and the level ends with you destroying the mast of a larger sailboat while dodging its cannonballs. This is a level I always dreaded playing as a kid, but reflecting on all the other mini-games this game has to offer, this is really one of the best and most honest. The gameplay, while pretty mechanically simple, has a lot of fun stuff to do, and it's one of the best mini-games I think. Gonna get a nice B tier right behind these two operations, quite good. X marks the spot. This is where the pirate gameplay of this chapter really takes a turn, and for most people, a turn for the worse. You make your way to this pirate ship and eliminate the guards so you can steal it. Ooh, shit. And eliminate the guards so you can steal the pirate ship and set sail in search of the buried treasure. Sly, what are you doing? Then you set sail on the open waters and navigate using a map and eventually run into other pirate ships that you have to fight. Once their sails are down, you can either shoot them with another round of cannonballs to sink them, or you can board the ship, fight the crew, and steal the loot. Once you arrive at the island where the treasure is supposedly buried, Sly finds that the island is already very heavily guarded. You could always use your pirate disguise to get past them, but that'll only work for the normal guards. There's also these lizards native to the island that'll each—
Avast! What be the captain's password?
Setting password now.
Whole spar, port jib.
New blood, eh?
Okay. Then you just follow the clues on the treasure map, take the right number of paces in the right directions until you find the treasure, and once you dig it up, you let Dimitri know so he can come open it and look at his grandfather's gear. Dimitri, just like in Sly 2, is one of the best characters in the game, and he has excellent dialogue.
I open with joy. You Cooper gang is a tight groove.
And then Lafouille and his guards show up and hold Penelope hostage, which is like, I get that he has a hostage, but he's also outnumbered. You guys have the Murray, and Bentley with his bombs, and Sly with his cane, and literal Dimitri who's like 4 times the size of Lafouille. So you let him take the girl and take the loot, and you guys go home and hash out a new plan to rescue her. I know a lot of Sly 3 fans, I know a lot of Sly 3 haters, and most of them agree that the pirate ship stuff was not the right direction for the gameplay to take. And for the most part, I agree, the pirate ship stuff is really not for me, but this is an introduction into it, and it gets worse later, so this is still not bad. It's just so different, it's hard to compare to anything else, you know? But because I find it really funny, we're gonna put it up there with Beauty and the Beast, which is another very similarly funny level with gameplay I'm not huge on. Plus it has Dimitri, how can you argue with that? Crusher from the Depths. So the plan is to just set sail and find Lafouille's ship and rescue Penelope. But we then encounter a freaking kraken who makes our sails disappear, and it tries to slap Bentley, but Panda King saves the day, and Sly and Bentley are like, alright, well, you seem to have this kraken thing taken care of, so have fun. So you run around and defend yourself and the ship from its evil tentacles, and you can't charge your missiles and run at the same time, which makes dodging kind of difficult. Like I said, a few small changes to the Panda King's gameplay and he would be a way better character, I think, but still not bad. Then the boss fight gets serious when the Kraken starts lobbing its world-famous meatballs at you, before eventually getting bored and trying to just sink your entire ship by dragging it down. And this is kind of fun actually, and requires some level of focus where you gotta try to destroy the tentacles that are leaning your ship too far into one direction to keep it balanced. If there's too many tentacles on one side, your boat will tip over, so you gotta be paying attention. Then he tries to slap you some more and give you more of his meatballs, rinse and repeat, until the Panda King runs out of fireworks.
Cooper! Your assistance is requested.
So now it's Sly's turn to fight the monster, who now has a spicier meatballs. When the monster slaps its tentacles on the ship, you whack them with your cane to get them to stick to the ship, which annoys the monster, and then he comes up close to the ship where you shoot him in the eyeball. Repeat this process until the monster gets bored, where then Bentley proposes that the guru tries to mind control this beast so we can use it against Lafouille in the final battle. But instead, the Kraken isn't having it and he just eats the guru for a tasty snack. This is yet another example of a really cool boss fight that takes place in the middle of a chapter, much like last time, and this has a similar problem of having more climactic value in certain ways than the actual climax of the chapter. This mission actually does a really good job of presenting new and interesting ways to fight the same monster. The gameplay never gets too repetitive, it does not overstay its welcome, and it's quite fun. This is going to get an A tier for me, probably better than Operation Moon Crash, probably better than Lemon Rage. I really like what this level has going on. I just wish some of the structure of the story of Chapter 5 was kind of rearranged to where the big fight with the monster happened closer to the end and made a little bit more climactic sense for the story, but still super cool, huge fan, let's move on. Deep Sea Danger, okay. In this level, you play as Dimitri with the scuba gear. Wait a minute, didn't Lafouille steal that? He said he was going to. Did he just take the girl? Like, whatever. This level starts off with one of my favorite interactions in the whole game.
Are you all set with your gear?
Got the gear, got the macho swimsuit, got more juice than you'll ever know. I'm a hit singer with a bullet.
Cool, Daddy-O. How about you take your pimp self down beneath the H2O and get nasty with the scuba? Yo, with bling.
Hey, man, you can try, but you'll never capture my essential style. It's like smoke, ungrabbable and all over the place. But no matter nothing, come at me with some turtle talk. You got your own flavor.
Fine. Your objective is beyond the reef. We're looking for some more of these cannon blast amplification collars. We'll move the boat above the wreck and lower a basket for you to drop them into.
Ooh, cool, bro. I'll cop the collars and spice up your basket big time.
I just really love seeing these characters interact. I love playing as Dimitri in any capacity. Why did it have to be an underwater mission? Also, you can actually surface and like look around, and I didn't know that, but that's kind of cool. The controls are ridiculous. You use the face buttons being like triangle, circle, square, and X to move forward, right, left, and back, which I guess isn't the worst way to go about it, but it still feels kind of unintuitive and weird, and it becomes a bigger problem later on in the game, so we'll talk more about it then. But yeah, you find these cute little yellow hats to put on the tips of your cannons to make your cannons stronger, and you shoot sharks along the way. That's pretty much it. This gameplay is very inoffensive despite it being mechanically kind of weird, and this level is pretty much carried by Dimitri just being himself, so I'm going to put it right above the other two Dimitri levels right here. Not too bad for an unintuitive minigame level. Battle on the High Seas. You know last time when we had to fight one pirate ship with our pirate ship? Yeah, we're doing way more of that this time. This level is so slow. Battling other ships is such a slow process, and there are measures you can take to kind of quicken the pace by shooting the fronts or backs of ships, but your ship turns so slowly it's kind of hard to position yourself strategically. Then again, this is a large ship, so making it turn faster would probably not make much sense either. This is just a strange choice for them to focus so heavily on for this chapter. You do so much of this ship stuff. I actually played this level in 2x speed because it's so slow otherwise, and it was actually much more enjoyable this way. This level's pretty cut and dry. It's a 1-on-1, 1-on-3, and then 1-on-4 against other pirate ships. If you weren't able to pick up health along the way, this would be like a D tier, but I mean, I'm still not a huge fan of the pirate ship stuff though. This is gonna get like a low C tier for me. I might bump it up a little bit later, but this gameplay's really not for me. It takes too long and it's too disconnected from what I want out of Sly Cooper gameplay. Operation Reverse Double Cross. This level starts with a boss fight of sorts against Lafouille's ship with your new and improved cannons. Once their sails are down, Sly jumps over and boards the ship by himself, so Lafouille promptly makes him walk the plank, where your job is to make him angry by saying the right things to insult him. This part also has some pretty charming dialogue. Most of the speech bubble stuff does lead to some of that, which I do enjoy. Once you make him angry enough to reveal where he's keeping Penelope, you jump off the plank and land on a boat where Murray is waiting for you, where he takes you to go free Penelope. Sly is of course walking into a trap where he finds a doll that looks like Penelope with explosives strapped to it that turns around and looks at him? Ew! So Sly explodes and dies. Once Lafouille feels that he has the upper hand, the guru emerges from the depths controlling the Kraken monster, where your job is to use the power of Phil Collins to protect Bentley while he frees Penelope. And defending Bentley like this is actually pretty fun, unless you let one of the dogs get close enough to Bentley to where he's kind of out of range of your tentacles for the most part, and it's really hard to actually hit him. And once everyone is sick of Phil Collins, it is finally time to free Penelope, and they have their little reunion. And then LaFouille is like, I'm gonna hold her hostage again, that worked last time, you sumbitch. And Bentley is like oddly confident this time, being like,
No worries, Guru, I'll deal with him this time.
Then the weirdest shit happens. Sly is alive, and he paraglides down and just lands on everybody, knocking over LaFouille a little bit and knocking over Bentley a lot. Why did you do it that way? But it all works out because Penelope is here to save her own day.
Nobody touches that turtle but me.
And then it's final boss time, which has very, very simple gameplay mechanics. When he leaves himself open, you can either attack high or mid, depending on what the situation calls for, and then you can duck and jump over his attacks. With a little patience and timing, his patterns are very easy, and you can take care of him no problem. And then Penelope gives LaFouille over to the sharks as a tasty treat. This is a pretty good operation. It doesn't butcher the climax like I feel like the last operation did. I do think this is better than all the other B tiers, but probably not better than Operation Moon Crash. Very strong B tier, but the Kraken part did go on a little bit long, and I would have liked maybe one other thing to do. Still very, very good though. Alright, that is it for Chapter 5. Moving on to the final chapter of the video game. So now we've caught back up to the present day, where the prologue of the game began, where Sly and the gang get caught trying to break into the Cooper Vault, and Sly sacrifices himself to save Bentley. And I haven't been bothering to show you guys the cutscenes that tie each chapter together, but this one I think is really important to watch.
Funny, but here I am at the end, and suddenly all I can think about is what a coward I've been towards Carmelita. I never took the next step. Looking at Bentley and Penelope, it's clear what life is about. If Carmelita was here, I'd tell her straight out how I feel, and quit playing around. Put our professional differences aside and see if we can make it work. But that'll never happen now. I can't take this crushing. Just let the pain stop.
This is the start of the chapter, and it is tonally much darker and more serious than anything else so far, and I really appreciate that. If you've ever wondered why Sly 4 is such a bad game, it's largely due to the fact that it spits in the face of everything this cutscene stands for. Maybe someday I'll make a video talking about how bad Sly 4 is, but anyway, Carmelita to the rescue. So Carmelita pulls up to the island with all of her goons to stop Dr. M and save the day. This is a very simple boss fight. You just shoot constantly, and Dr. M will occasionally throw projectiles and various obstacles your way that you have to work around. And this boss fight ends with a very cool interaction between Carmelita and Dr. M, where Carmelita claims that she's here for justice and to take them all to prison, and Dr. M victimizing himself, claiming that his home was invaded by the Cooper gang. Dr. M then loses his patience and sends his monster to go kill Carmelita, while everyone else tends to Sly. This is the best Carmelita mission in the game. The only thing it really does better than the other Carmelita missions is just like emotional significance and narrative value, and it does that job quite well, even though the boss fight and the gameplay are really quite repetitive. Still pretty cool. A deadly bite. Most of the levels in this final chapter are very strange mini-games. So when the monster threw Sly's cane into the water, it actually was magnetized to some kind of buoy floating out there, so the guru's job is to go get it. But to turn off the magnetization, he has to accumulate an army of sharks while dodging all these mines and get them to turn off the... I don't know. The shark controls are okay. They're given the ability to jump, which is a huge help, because they turn really, really slowly, and dodging the mines that pop up out of nowhere gets very annoying. Mechanically, it's simple and inoffensive enough, but it doesn't do anything to wow me, and I didn't find the minigame very enjoyable, so it's going to get put in the C tier along with these other minigames. The Dark Current. So you know when I said Dimitri's swimming controls would be an issue later? Well, it's time. Sly's cane gets sucked into a wormhole, and it's Dimitri's job to go fish it out. And while you're in there, a bunch of giant crabs try to pinch you with their claws. And it starts out simple and slow enough at first, but it speeds up so fast to where I genuinely struggle to react fast enough to dodge these. And even if I do react in time and dodge the correct way, the game just doesn't let you dodge far enough to fully avoid the pinchers sometimes. It feels like total RNG whether you pass this or not, and the order of all of these claws is, I believe, a set pattern, and it's not randomized, but Dimitri's momentum when dodging them does feel randomized. It is the least intuitive and least fun level in the entire game, in my opinion, and if you can get past that, you do actually make it to a pretty neat boss fight. You do end up missing a lot of your shots, and you kind of got to account for Dr. M's movement, but aside from that, the boss fight is cool. Despite Dimitri's efforts, Dr. M still ends up escaping with the cane, and he has to come back empty-handed. I don't mind the end, and I don't mind the beginning. It's the middle where all the crab claws are grabbing you super, super fast. Dimitri's controls just aren't equipped to deal with that. If the controls were just a little bit better and more consistent, this would totally be like a B or a C tier, but it was handled so poorly, I can't have fun playing this level. That is going to be our second D tier, and very likely the lowest ranked level in the game. Bump, Charge, Jump. Another Penelope R RC mission, your job is to jump onto these 3 racetracks, defeat the other racers, and collect their estrogen, which is also electricity, which is also health, so you can build up enough speed to smash these little satellite dishes so Dr. M can't watch cable anymore. The controls work well enough to deal with the terrain that you're given, and I kind of wish you were given like a gun, maybe, to shoot these guys, but bumping them is also pretty satisfying and fun, so pretty fun minigame, actually. I enjoy this one. Probably going to get a B tier, but where in the B tier? Definitely better than Dynamic Duo, the last time we saw the RC car, and I can't say much else. Danger in the skies. Sly is tired of hurting from being crushed to death earlier, and he's ready for more action, so he hops in his little biplane and flies around and destroys some turrets. There's this little like green Cheez-It cracker next to each turret that you have to destroy to turn them off, and the shields that protect it are only off for a short window of time after they have shot you with missiles, so you dodge the missiles, shoot the Cheez-It, you're good to go. Doing this 14 times sounds kind of tedious, but I had a lot more fun doing this than I thought. This is the first time I felt like evasive maneuvers of any kind in the plane are actually fun and kind of necessary, and it was really rewarding to use that to complete the level. After that, there's these weird like bat creatures with shields, so you launch missiles at them to destroy the shields and then shoot them with your gun to kill them. I do have problems with this part of the mission though, because it always feels like all of the bats are right behind you, and you can't turn around fast enough to really face any of them. So you basically just fly around in circles, wait for one of them to just emerge in front of you, and then deal with that. But once you eliminate each of the bats, it's boss fight time. I swear each of these levels has a boss fight. This giant cyborg whale dragonfly thing emerges from the water, and Dr. M is revealed to be firmly in its butt. You fly up to him, shoot him for a while, and then he throws some projectiles at you, which you can dodge off to either side, or you can kind of fly in the middle and try to dodge everything like that. It is super trippy, and dodging the green stuff by going in the middle can be really disorienting. Thankfully, the boss fight does not last very long. But even once you deplete all of Dr. M's health, you still can't defeat him, so Sly gives up and explodes. Sly paraglides down to the cyborg whale and confronts Dr. M. Dr. M talks a bit about his past and clearly still feels very bitter about working with Sly's dad many years ago, and Dr. M sees himself and his own struggle in what Bentley is going through, claiming that he is the true leader of the Cooper gang. Knowing that Dr. M was in a similar Cooper gang to what we've come to know, it's really interesting to see him relate to Bentley and try to get him out of the situation he found himself in many years ago, obviously all while underestimating the bond between Bentley, Sly, and Murray. But for how much I love Sly 2, this is an actual interesting, complex villain, much more competent than Clockla, and that's very refreshing to see. So Sly steals the cane back and hits him in the face, and Dr. M jumps off the whale and laughs maniacally. Now that Sly has his cane back, he finally makes his way to the vault to truly unveil all of his ancestors' treasures. And his talk with Dr. M inspires him to invite Bentley and Murray to come along with him on his very personal ancestral journey, which I think is a really interesting piece of character development for him.
Okay, be right up, partner.
The fuse is lit.
Buckle up, Bentley. We're about to fly. Yahoo!
We're never doing that again.
If the middle chunk of the level were handled a little bit better, I would probably have put this in S tier, but I still think it deserves a high A tier, a top 4 spot at that. Even if the gameplay isn't all good, there's really cool character interactions, and it is very narratively valuable, I believe. The Ancestors Gauntlet. The gang makes their way into the Cooper Vault to find that only Sly can truly progress into the vault from here. Bentley and Murray hold down the fort, allowing Sly to finally explore the vault and truly enjoy the splendor of everything his ancestors left for him. And this level has pretty much everything I've ever wanted out of a Sly mission. It has loads of platforming, the best the franchise has ever seen. All of the machines and shapes and contraptions that you get to platform on. Man, this is just a wonderful little playground for Sly to just do his thing, while also being adequately challenging at times, and it requires some patience, it requires some timing. This is very true to its name of Gauntlet. It really challenges everything you've learned about platforming as Sly Cooper throughout these games. It's even got little lore tidbits about all your ancestors you get to listen to, and once you get to each ancestor's section of the vault, you get to enjoy a uniquely designed platforming segment based around the talents of that ancestor, ultimately ending with the section of the vault made by Sly's father, who designed a completely new and unique thieving technique for Sly to use, involving just this laser. We've seen lasers 100 times in Sly 3 so far, and they always hurt us, so this puts Sly in a very interesting position. He trusts in the instincts that he's accumulated over years of following in his father's footsteps, and just glides across the laser. This is the coolest thing ever, right? And though it may not look like much, this is representative of so much more. Sly's whole journey to reconnect with his past and his family all culminates in this moment, and the level ends just after that, with him entering the inner sanctum of the vault. This level scratches every platforming itch I have ever had from playing Sly Cooper. Everything this level attempts to do is done pretty much perfectly, and no other levels have really done better. This, for now at least, is going in S tier at the very top spot. I may change my mind on that later, but we will see. Stand your ground. So far this chapter has been really good at hitting a lot of emotional beats, and this level is no exception. This level follows what Bentley and Murray were up to while Sly was going through his ancestor's gauntlet, and the level starts with an interaction between Bentley and Murray, where Bentley is kind of experiencing the same doubts that Dr. M would want him to feel. And this is not something that's super abrupt, it has suddenly been built up to throughout the entire course of the game with little bits of dialogue here and there. And while the vault is being actively breached by enemies, Murray takes this time to reassure Bentley amidst all his doubts and say that if the roles were reversed, Sly would do the same for Bentley.
Think of it this way, Bentley. If it were you in that vault and Sly and I were out here, what would he do?
Stop these thugs and protect his friend.
Right, and that's what I'm gonna do. Keep your head down, stay clear. I'm gonna smash a lot of skulls, and I don't want yours to be one of them.
I love this guy so much. Murray's kind of played up as the muscle of the group who's also not too bright, you know, he's a little slow in certain areas, but he is also a very emotionally complex character. Murray is not comic relief, he is his own character and he has complex motivations and feelings, and this does a really good job of kind of showing us that. This is a little bit less interesting as it's mostly just beating up a whole bunch of goons, but these goons are tough, way tougher than any guards in the game so far. These guys are durable, they hit pretty hard, some of them can block, so you really gotta use all of Murray's tools to effectively dispose of these guys, and it's pretty fun. Once all the goons are taken care of, Dr. M himself enters the vault and interacts with Bentley and Murray, where he initially commends Murray's strength, claiming that he was stronger than the muscle of his gang ever was, before intellectually belittling him and talking to Bentley instead. Dr. M tells him, "I have no quarrel with you, I do not want to fight, I see a lot of potential in you that you are not living up to in this Cooper gang. I know your pain and I want to free you from it." And while Bentley's dialogue definitely isn't the strongest, and I don't feel like reflects his intellect as much as they were intending, but at the same time I kind of appreciate how Bentley and Dr. M are not on the same level. Bentley is still a very young adult, and Dr. M has a lot more wisdom and experience. But Bentley responds by essentially saying, "You underestimate Sly, he and I are like brothers, and I am going to stop you." Which, to be fair, is where Bentley's character should be, even if he didn't kind of express it in the best way, I guess. And Dr. M promptly gives up on his efforts to disband the Cooper gang and essentially says, "So be it," and gets into a physical altercation with Murray. So while they're doing that, Bentley kind of goes around collecting treasure and attaching it to Dr. M's back so that he'll get zapped. Yeah, when these levels aren't doing like cool character development stuff, they're making no sense, but that's fine. And as you go to pick up the next piece of treasure, all these guards come to defend Dr. M. So you use your grapple cane with a newly implemented turret to clear a path so you can stick the next piece of treasure to Dr. M's back and zap him again. Rinse and repeat a few times and you're done. But Dr. M still has plenty of fight left in him, and he reveals that he placed a tracking device on Sly's cane, which I guess explains why he was laughing earlier when Sly took it back, so he can use that data to explore the vault's depths and find Sly. And then we end with this cute little interaction.
I'll think of something, just give me time.
You know something, Bentley?
What?
You think awesome.
Thanks, pal.
My heart. This level does not quite hit every nail on the head when it comes to its gameplay. Now, beating people up with Murray, can't go wrong with that. The boss fight's not bad either, but this one really shines when it comes to the characters, maybe more than any other level in the game. And as we wrap up this list, it gets really hard to compare these best levels to each other because each one is so different, but I do think this one is going to go at the top of A tier. Fun gameplay, and the story really sheds some light on why the Cooper gang has stuck together through it all, and that's really, really cool to see, I think. Time for the last level, Final Legacy. This final level is entirely dedicated to the final confrontation between Sly and Dr. M. You pretty much get right into the boss fight, which leads to this dialogue, which I think is pretty funny.
Come on, aren't we supposed to banter a little?
I only talk with my equals, and Bentley said no.
So you hook onto his little toes, he's still invincible, you can't hurt him yet, and then he's going to shoot you with his death laser. You hide under an ancestral vehicle of some kind, and now it's time for actual combat. Some of his attacks are really, really fast, and if you don't know they're coming, they'll hit you pretty hard. Also, grabbing his toes can be kind of hard. Sometimes you just spire jump on a laser instead, which is kind of annoying. He fires the laser, hide under a vehicle, and then when it's time for more combat, he gets way stronger. He shoots projectiles that do not leave the stage. They will follow you endlessly unless you jump off of the stage and get them to fall off, and every time he jumps and lands, he has this little force field of static electricity that will hurt you if you try to come near. A lot more patience is required for this fight than how it initially appears, which can be kind of frustrating. Hide from yet another laser and we're on to the last phase. He starts spamming these fireballs and there's no real counterplay other than go off stage and wait for them to fall and then you can try again. Once he gets tired of the fireballs, he'll start jumping, but instead of a force field of electricity, it's a giant wave of fire. He'll repeat each of these attacks a few more times. Just be patient, wait out the fireballs, don't try to rush in when he jumps, and you'll eventually clutch it out. They come to something of an understanding where Dr. M admits he might be wrong about Sly and his gang, before ultimately letting his hate for the Coopers overwhelm any other emotions, just in time for Carmelita to break into the vault. which is what this guy's been trying to do for like decades, and she just did it with the power of Latina booty, apparently. Sly actually ends up taking a bullet for her before you take over as Carmelita and finish the remainder of his health, taking him down. Carmelita then goes to check on Sly, and he is alive, but he apparently has amnesia, remembering nothing about who he is or where he is, so they make their grand escape before the Cooper Vault collapses. And then the game ends with the Cooper Vault collapsing on itself, with Dr. M still inside, stubbornly refusing to let the fortune go and instead choosing to die with it. Since Sly escaped with Carmelita, the gang does not know what happened to Sly, so they go searching for him on the island to find that he left a little final calling card behind, exposing an entrance into the vault and all of its riches. From there, the gang amicably splits up and goes their separate ways, except for Bentley and Penelope, who continue to work together on projects and protecting the Cooper fortune. And once you sit through the credits, you are rewarded with one final little ending cutscene depicting Sly and Carmelita happily together.
That sneaky devil.
This is a great climax to the game, and it certainly feels like a finale. Again, if you start thinking logistically about all the plot holes around the Cooper Vault, it starts to fall apart a little bit, but if you appreciate it for what it is, I think it holds up pretty well, and you can absolutely tell that the characters in this game were written by people who actually care. And since this gameplay is dedicated to just the final boss fight, it's kind of hard to compare it to some of the more mechanically diverse levels in the top tiers, but I think it's super strong and has really good character work. I'm going to put it in the A tier, right behind Stand Your Ground. But we're not done just yet. I'm going to try my best to reorganize this tier list in any ways that I see fit to try to make it a little bit more accurate. Making this list and all the prep for it once it's all said and done took me about 16 hours, and that's not even counting all the editing I'm gonna have to do. So it's definitely imperative that I do some kind of final consideration to make these tiers as accurate as I can make them. The Ancestors Gauntlet takes Sly's core gameplay and pushes it to its absolute limits in all the best ways, which is why it's my favorite level in the game. Laptop Retrieval kind of breaks the mold of Sly gameplay and makes something completely new and creative, and is one of the most fun boss fights in any game I've ever played. And King of Fire is kind of a jack of all trades. It's got really good character moments, it's got really fun and unique gameplay, and all the characters up to this point get to use their abilities in unique ways to complete their goal. These, I think, are the 3 strongest levels in the game, and I stand by that. But I would like to keep the S tier down to only 3 levels if I can. And by this point, Into the Depths being our first A tier has kind of been surpassed in a lot of ways. I will be demoting Into the Depths to about here. Still a very strong level, but it's kind of been surpassed in pretty much every way by others. Guard Duty, while having a lot of awesome moments and meme value, its gameplay is very slow and maybe not what you're into. I certainly prefer a lot of other levels in this game. Sentimental value will still keep this in A tier, but I'm going to demote it to about here. So with that, I think I'm completely happy with the S and the A tier. B tier is the biggest one. I'm going to make a lot of changes to this. First up, Tarball. I like this level, but compared to the rest of the B tiers, it doesn't really hold up, so I think I'm going to demote it to the top of C. Run and Bomb is an intense and effective level with a lot of fast-paced gameplay, but it's not quite as interesting as the Frame level, so I'm going to drop this down 2 spots. Grapple Cam Break-In might get demoted a couple spots. The Grapple Cam gameplay can be fun, but when you're confined to such a small space with the Grapple Cam, there's really not much to do, so it's a good intro into the Grapple Cam, but it doesn't really flesh out its potential. I would still say it's better than Carmelita to the rescue. The Cooper Vault is such a hard level to rank. It's a pretty good tutorial for the game, and it sets up a lot of things that are going to be significant later, but it's so hard to compare it to the levels above and below it because the gameplay here is very, like, straightforward, sly, by-the-numbers platforming, and everything else gets so crazy. I would consider this like the middle of the road, where everything above would be objectively pretty good, and everything below maybe has a little bit of room for debate on that. With that being said, I do enjoy all of these levels. I had a blast playing through each and every one, except for one chunk of both of these, which is why they're the only 2 D tiers. So C tier really isn't as bad as it sounds, you know? I'm gonna be moving Police HQ up a few spots, probably above all of these. There's really not much to it, but the stealthy bits are super fun, and anything with Dimitri automatically gets bonus points. And with that, I think we have our final tier list. I'm pretty happy with the way things turned out. These levels were a lot harder to compare to each other than I was initially anticipating. Sly 2's gameplay is far more traditional on average, and the mini games are fewer and farther between. This game, however, is just non-stop mini games in action. Pretty much every level is different from the others, and there's always something new to do. And I've come to appreciate that style of gameplay more as I've gotten older and better at some of the more annoying mini games, but I think this game suffered a lot from its rushed development, and if some of these mini games just had a little bit more time to be fully fleshed out and some of the mechanics and controls were a little bit more polished, this may have been my favorite video game of all time, who knows? But for now, Sly 2 still holds that spot for me, but this is a very very close second. And as is tradition, it's time to decide which chapter of this game was the strongest, which levels performed the best. So, D tier worth 1 point, C 2, B 3, A 4, S 5. And these were surprisingly neck and neck, but chapter 1 is actually going to eke out the victory. As this list was forming, I kind of imagined either chapter 4 or chapter 6 would be the best, and 6 probably would have been if it had as many levels as all the other chapters, but it's actually too short. But I am far from displeased. Chapter 1 is well deserving of the top spot, and I thought it was fun to make this chart and really show how close these were in terms of quality. But yeah, that will conclude what is hopefully my last video of 2025 and not my first video of 2026. Fingers crossed for future howdy. I basically reviewed this game's story while also reviewing its levels all in a single video, which probably not the best call because then I have 16 hours of footage to go through. But this is the most work I have ever put into a video, and I really hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys would like to see ranking videos more like this one in the future for other games that I like, be sure to let me know by leaving a comment or a like. And as always, before we go, it's time to thank our wonderful patrons on Patreon and members on YouTube for being continuous financial supporters of our YouTube channel. Without their very generous contributions, I could not continue to do what I do, pumping out videos and streams for you guys every week. So if you guys enjoy that content, you have these legends to thank for that as well. I could not do it alone. And thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you stopping by and sticking around for this very long video today. If you like what you see from my channel, I'll be sure to throw a couple more videos up on the screen for you guys to enjoy. And if you stuck around to the end, I really do appreciate it. Have a great rest of your day or night, and goodbye forever.